Hey beautiful minds, hey creatives, welcome back to the channel. And for you beginner, don't get scared, grab your pattern paper or your fabric and join me. Let's draft out this pattern. This is going to be a beginner friendly project, and this is the first time I'm making a zipper fly on my channel, so I'm just going to break down the whole process of drafting out the pattern, and you are going to get this right. Trust me, just open up your mind, follow the steps gradually and bit by bit, and you're going to be great at it. You guys, let's get started. Now on my cutting board, I have my pattern paper laid out. Now if you don't have a pattern paper and you have a fabric for this project, I would advise you fold your fabric into two and mark along with me. Now I have my tools here. I have my ruler, I have my scissors, I have my marker, I have my curve ruler, and the first thing I'm just going to show you is the length. The length for my pants is going to be 46 inches. Now the next step for you to do is just go ahead and rule out a starting line. Okay, now I'm just going to rule out my starting line, and then I'm going to go ahead and change my marker so you understand every process with the color of the marker I'm using. Now the first starting line I ruled out here is going to be the waistline, and from that waistline I'll place my tape and go down by 10 inches for my hip point. Now if you don't know how to get your hip points, the measurement is on the screen. Look at what I'm doing. Now measure that on your body and mark out your hip point. Mark that down on your pattern or your fabric, and also indicate with an horizontal line like this. I hope you got that first step. And now the next step for us to do is mark the crotch points. So to get your crotch points, there are two ways to do this. The first way is by placing your tape from your front waistline to your back waistline. That's your desired waistline for the pants. Place it like this, and once you have like a number, divide that number by 2, and that is going to be your crotch point. So I got 22, and divided by 2 gives you 11. Now the other way to do this is just sit down like this on the picture, just the way the lady on the picture is doing. Sit down, place your tape from your waistline down to the under of your bum, just as the picture is indicating, and get the number, and now mark that either on your pattern or your fabric. So for me, doing the first process, I got 22 divided by 2 gives you 11, and that is what I'm marking on my pattern. I'm marking 11 inches. So hope you're able to understand how to get your crotch, and don't forget to rule an horizontal line just the way I'm doing. And I'm just going to indicate that this is my crotch point. 3 inches down from your crotch point is always your tie line. So I'm just going to place my tape on the crotch line and go down by 3 inches to indicate my tie line. I would advise you do the same. Place your tape from your crotch line, go down by 3 inches and indicate your tie line. And I'm just going to write this down in case you're lost. Just know that this is the tie line. Now the next point we're going to be marking is the knee point, and what I'll do is I'm just going to go ahead and place my tape on the waistline, and I'll go down by 19 inches for my knee point. So just go ahead and look at the measurement on the screen and now mark your knee points. And I'll write this down here. This is my knee point, and let's go ahead and just mark the length. I already showed you guys the length, so I'm just going to go ahead and just indicate that at the base of, so you don't get lost. This is where the length is going to be, and I'll just write that here, length. Now to start creating the pattern properly, on the waistline, I'm going to mark 1.5 inch in. This is what 1.5 inch looks like on the tape. I'll mark that in from my waistline. Now I have the point indicated. I'll go ahead and rule this line to meet my hip point. So I'll connect this to my hip points using my straight ruler. I'm connecting the 1.5 inch to the hip line. And you guys, let's start dividing our round measurements by 4. The first measurement we're going to be dividing by 4 is the waistline. Of course, that's the number 1. So I'll go ahead and divide my round waist by 4, and then I'll mark that down on the waistline. I'll make sure I mark this after the 1.5 inch we indicated. As you can see, look at the pattern very well. See where my hand is. I'm marking this after the 1.5. I'll move over to my hip line. I'll divide my round hip by 4, and then I'll mark this down on my hip line. Now I'm just going to connect my waist measurement down to the hip. The points I indicated on my waist as my round measurement, I'll connect that to my hip line like this. And then I'm just going to move ahead and mark what I marked on my hip on the crotch. Now on the crotch, I'm just going to divide my round hip by 4 and mark that down on the crotch. So it's just like taking the line from the hip line down to the crotch. So I marked 10.5 on my hip, and what I'll be marking on my crotch is 10.5. So I'm taking my hip measurements and I'm putting that on my crotch. And what I will do now is connect both points together. Now, you know we need to extend the crotch by 2 inches. I always do that on my patterns. I'll go ahead and extend my crotch line by 2 inches. I'll use my curve ruler to connect from the hip to the crotch. So I'm just going to create a curve like this. And that is just going to create the crotch curve. And I hope you guys understood how we got to this point. If you did not, please start afresh and follow the steps carefully, okay? So now I have that indicated. The next thing for us to do is mark the middle points for this pants. How do you get your middle points? All you have to do is place your tape on the crotch line and measure out what you have. So I'm just going to place like this on the crotch line, and I'll extend this to the 2 inches I added, and I got 13 inches. Now what I'll have to do is divide the 13 inches by 2. You see how I fold my tape? This is how to divide by 2. Now I got 6.5 inches, and this automatically makes it my middle line. So 6.5 inches is going to be acting as the middle line for this pants. Now I'm just going to go ahead and mark that on the thigh line. I'll mark that on the knee line and also on the length. So the first place to mark first is the thigh, 6.5 here. I'll move over to the knee line. I'll mark 6.5. And also down to the length, I'll mark 6.5. So what we just did now is indicate the middle point for the pants. And I'm just going to use my ruler to connect those points we just indicated with a straight line. So if you don't have a long ruler like I do, you can use your short ruler, or you can use whatever can give you like a straight line for one point to another. Just going to go ahead and divide my round lap by 2, and whatever number I get, I'm going to mark half of the number to the left and to the right of the middle points we just indicated. Now this is the middle point, right? And I'll go ahead and divide my round lap by 2. My round lap is 27, and this is 27 here. I'll divide this by 2, and I got 13.5. Now I'm just going to go ahead and divide 13.5 by 2 again. Now I'm just going to go ahead and mark the number I just got on the right and the left of the middle point. So I'm indicating it here and also indicate it here. I don't know if you guys understood what just happened. We're going to repeat the same thing on the knee line. So I'll connect this point now back to the crotch and also connect it at the other side of the crotch curve. I'll connect it from the thigh to the crotch like this. So let's go ahead and repeat the same step on the knee line. What we're going to do is divide the round knee by 2. Now my round knee is 21. I'm going to divide 21 by 2. And I got 10.5. Now I'm just going to divide 10.5 by 2. And I'm getting 5 1/4. So what I'll do is mark 5 1/4 to the right and to the left of the middle points. So I'm just going to mark 5 1/4 here, and then to this other side 5 1/4. Now this is the same thing we just did on the thigh line, and I hope you guys understood what just happened, because we're going to repeat the same thing on the length. So let's move to the length. Now determine how wide you want your pants to be on the length. So once you know how wide you want it to be on the length, you divide that number by 2, and then you mark half to the left and to the right of the middle point. Now I want my pants to be 22 inches wide. I'm going to divide 22 inches by 2, and then I got 11. I'll divide 11 again by 2, and I got 5.5. That is 5.5. I'm going to mark 5.5 to the left and to the right. Now this is the same thing we did on the knee and on the thigh line. At this point, you should be able to understand what is happening, like the whole process. Please let me know in the comment section if you have any problems so I can answer your question, okay? Please let me know in the comment section. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. So once I am done with those process, I'm just going to connect from the knee line to the length. And then I'll move to the other side. I'll connect that to the length like this. And then we are done with this side. So what we need to do now is create the dart. And to create the dart for our front pants, all we have to do now is, you know the middle points we marked on the thigh line and on the knee line, which is 6/2. I'm just going to mark that on my waist like this. I'll indicate the line on my waist. I also indicate the line on the hip. I'll use my ruler to connect the points. Now I'm just connecting it back to the other middle points. And this is just going to help me create the dart for my pants. So now I have my middle line on the waist. What I'll do is I'll mark 4 inches down on the middle line. I'll place my tape on the waist middle line, and I'll go down by 4 inches. On the waist, I'll mark 1/2 inches to the left and to the right from the middle line. We're trying to create the dart leg, so I'll mark 1/2 inch here. I'll move to the other side of the middle line. I'll mark 1/2 inch. I'll use my ruler to connect this to the 4 inches on the base like this, and that will create the dart for the front pants. Now, you know, when you take that on your pattern or your fabric, you have to replace that, okay? So what we're going to do now is replace the dart back on the waist. So we're going to mark 1 inch, you know, 1/2 inch makes it 1 inch. So we're going to replace in 1 inch back on the waist, and then we'll connect this back to the hip. So make sure you replace your dart so you don't go short of your fabric, okay? Replace, after taking out, replace. So now I have that indicated. You guys, we're just going to add allowance for the pattern. So I'm just going to add 1/2 inch allowance on my pattern, and that is it. So if you're a beginner, please let me know in the comment section if this video was of any help. I want to hear what you think. I want to know if this is simple enough and detailed enough for you to be able to create one for yourself. Please let me know. Let me know if there's anything I could do better for you to get a better result. If there's any explanation I need to explain more, I'm just going to dive in and do that for you. Please let me know, okay? I always emphasize this on my video, so please let me know. Now what I'm doing is I'm just cutting out the 1/2 inch that I left as the starting line, and then I'll go ahead and cut out my pattern. Now to create the front curve, all you have to do now is mark 1 inch down on this point. You know, this is going to be on the front waist, not the side. So you mark 1 inch down, and then you blend the line back to the side. So I'm just going to blend the line back to the side, but I won't be cutting this out because I need to create the back pattern. So I need this to be there when I create the back pattern. I'm just going to indicate it now, and I'll cut it out later. And you guys, that is it for the front pattern, and indicates that this is Vivian's front pattern. And let's go ahead and draft out the back. Now, creating the back pattern for your pants or for your skirts or for the top is always very easy, because all you have to do is duplicate your front pattern on a fresh paper and then just add some allowance. I have my fresh brown paper here. What I just did is place my front pattern on this fresh paper, and I'm just going to go ahead and pin this down with my pin so it doesn't move while I draft out my back pattern. So what I'll just do now is I'll go ahead and extend my crotch point by 2 inches. Now remember, we added 1/2 inch allowance on the front pattern. Make sure you place your tape from the main line of the crotch and then extend this by 2 inches out on your fresh paper. So that is what I'll be doing for the other sides. I'll go ahead and extend other side by 2 inches, making sure that I don't extend from my 1/2 inch allowance. You guys, the 1/2 inches allowance is what have the green marker. What I'm extending is for my black marker, which is my main measurements. I'm just extending all points by 2 inches. So I'm just going to create the back crotch like this, and then I'll go ahead and keep extending all points by 2 inches. So that is it for your back pattern. You just extend by 2 inches and also indicate your darts on the back pattern, and you're done. So once you have your front pattern drafted, getting your back pattern is like the easiest thing to do. And the next thing I'm just going to do now is indicate my darts on the back pattern. I'm indicating the middle line and also the dart legs. So what I'll do now is cut out this whole pattern so you guys can see the back clearly. So I'm practically tracing out the sides of the front on the back, but then the other side where you have the curve, I extended all points by 2 inches. So I'm just going to cut out from the 2 inches like this, and your back pattern is ready. I hope you guys have gotten to the stage. Please let me know in the comment section if it was hard for you to get to the stage. Now this is my back pattern, and I'm just going to rule out my darts. And to do this, I'm just going to mark 5 inches in from the middle point I indicated. I'm marking 5 inches down. I'll rule a straight line to connect this to the middle line on the waist, and then I'm just going to extend my dart legs like this, and I am done with the back pattern. I'll go ahead and just write out what I need to write out, that this is my back pattern. And on the front pattern, we need to cut out the front curve we created. The drop we dropped to the front waistline, so I'm just going to cut that out because I am done creating my back pattern. I don't need it no more. I'll cut it out, and I'll go ahead and start creating my fly piece. Now to create your zipper fly, all you have to do is bring out a fresh pattern like this, and of course rule a starting line. Now I'm going to rule a straight line, but before I do that, I'm just going to bring in the zip I'll be using for this project, and then I'll use the zip to know how long I need to make my line here. I'm just going to rule the straight line like this. Make sure you use your zip, the zip you're using for the project. Make sure you use it to rule out your line like this, and I'm just going to indicate that this is 8 inches. Now also rule another horizontal line here, and now let's start creating the fly piece. Now the first thing we're going to do is mark 2 inches in, and I'm using a black marker for you guys to know that this is the first 2 inches I'm marking out, and I'll name this first 2 inches A. So this is going to be my A, and then it's 2 inches wide. I'll go ahead and mark another 2 inches in after the first 2 inches, and I'm using a blue marker for this. And I'm just going to indicate that this is my B, and this is 2 inches wide. Now go ahead and mark another 2 inches in, and this is going to be done with a green marker. Now in total we have 6 inches ruled out on our pattern, all indicated with different lines, and this is going to be my C. And this is 2 inches wide. Now on this last where I mark the C, I'll go up by 1 inch from the base. I'll mark 1 inch up, and I'm just going to use my curve ruler to create a curve like this for this C. I'll create a curve like this for the C using my curve ruler. You can use your free hand if you can create a curve just like that. So go ahead and create a curve here. And now what I'll do is cut this pattern out, and I'll be showing you guys what each of them is going to be doing for us. So I'll go ahead and cut out my pattern. Now the A and the B is going to be acting as one pattern. I'm going to be cutting them together as one pattern, while I will be separating the C from this whole pattern. So right now I'll go ahead and cut out the C, and when I'm cutting out the C on my fabric, I'll be cutting out 2 different fabrics for it. But when I'm cutting out my A and B, I'm just going to cut out one fabric and then fold into 2. I don't know if you guys get. Now my A and B is acting as one pattern, and while my C, I'm going to be cutting 2 different fabrics for it. And you guys, all these are going to be done on the sewing version, so stay tuned, stay subscribed, put on your notification bell, because the sewing version is going to be as simple as the drafting version. Okay, thank you guys for watching. I love you guys so much. See you on my next video. Bye.